Get started here in just a second.
A group of American servicemen, all volunteers, began participating in a series of experiments at Dietrich. They stepped up to a new testing facility. The 8-ball was a 1,000,000-liter sphere, the largest known aerosol testing chamber in the world. Inside, a sprayer or bomb set up a cloud of microbes. The human subjects were Seventh-day Adventists. Conscientious objectors, they refused to carry arms. But 2,200 of them, called the Whitecoats, agreed to serve in experiments, including inhaling germs they knew might make them sick. All human studies were approved by the Secretary of Defense.
The Seventh-day Adventists presented an ideal population for testing biological weapons. Their religious beliefs prevented them from smoking, from drinking, and in general, their religion taught them to live a healthy lifestyle. Even among healthy Army recruits, they were perhaps the healthiest.
Some Whitecoat trials evaluated new vaccines developed at Dietrich, but curing disease was not the primary goal of the studies.
The Adventists were told that they were undergoing these experiments in order to save lives, but in fact, they were undergoing the experiments in order to calibrate a weapon to take lives.
Bill Patrick helped prepare the germs inhaled by the Whitecoats.
You stick your nose into a hood that's attached to a tank, and you don't smell it, you don't see it. The psychological impact of this, I think, would be very, very difficult to take.
In the Whitecoat era, Dietrich scientists worked with a wider variety of germs.
The American biowarfare program seemed to emphasize research into non-lethal biological weapons. Weapons that wouldn't necessarily make an enemy soldier dead, but would make that person pig sick for a long time. A sick soldier is more damaging to an army than a dead soldier. If a soldier is killed, all you need to do is just leave the soldier and continue with the campaign. But an ill soldier is going to require several people to take care of that person.
Hundreds of Whitecoats would eventually inhale germs, including those causing tularemia and sandfly fever. At least half of the exposed men became sick, but all eventually recuperated. Researchers knew that it's one thing to test disease agents in the lab, but quite another to make them work on the battlefield. So in 1955, Dietrich scientists prepared for America's first outdoor test of infectious germs on human subjects. They arranged for a group of Whitecoats to be flown to Utah.
I know that they were not intentionally going to harm us in any way, that they had our best interests at heart. You have to remember, we're 18, 19-year-old kids. It was all kind of a big adventure.
The site chosen for the experiment was the Dugway Proving Ground, located on a remote stretch of desert. At the end of a July day, scientists prepared to release an aerosol of germs that cause Q fever, a debilitating infection. Downwind, Whitecoats waited. A half-mile line of platforms held 30 men, 300 guinea pigs, and 75 monkeys.
The monkeys' faces were blue. It was cold. The wind was coming right at us. I took my blanket and I put it over the monkeys. We knew that when the siren blew, this was a signal to get up, sit on the stool, face the wind, just breathe naturally.
It took 4 minutes for the infectious cloud to reach the test stands. After the trials, men, monkeys, and guinea pigs sat in the silence of the desert. 45 minutes later, the whitecoats were picked up. Their contaminated clothes were incinerated, and the men boarded a flight to return to Maryland that night. Back at Dietrich, the whitecoats passed the time as the researchers waited to see if they'd come down with Q fever.
They had all kinds of activities for us to do. We could eat, we played games, we had ping pong, we shot pool.
After about 2 weeks, most of the exposed men began to fall ill.
I woke up feeling that I was coming down with the worst case of flu that I ever had. My eyes were very, very sensitive to light. I wanted the room dark. I ached everywhere. I was just incredibly sick, just very, very sick.
The ill men took antibiotics. Though one was hospitalized for months, all of the whitecoats recovered. With the cooperation of Seventh-day Adventists, researchers had proved that wind-borne germs could infect a small group of people under field conditions. Now, with the help of monkeys, they would try to determine if a biological weapon could match the impact of a hydrogen bomb. The test began early in 1965. As barges took position near a Pacific atoll called Johnston.
Inside the barges were cages filled with monkeys. The monkeys were both on the deck of the barge and inside the hold of the barge. There were also human beings wearing spacesuits and probably quite nervous.
A low-flying military plane sprayed a 32-mile line of germs. Germs that cause a lethal disease, tularemia, or rapid fever. Drifting over a vast swath of ocean, the microbes remained infectious for 60 miles.
The barges were towed back to the island, and in the next days, the monkeys became ill. Ultimately, about half of the monkeys became sick, and of them, most of them died.
These large-scale field tests demonstrated beyond any shadow of a doubt the feasibility of biological warfare. And that is why we know that one particular agent, when properly stabilized and properly disseminated, is a terrific, very effective weapon system.
In theory, a single jet could knock out a city. It could perhaps infect as many as half the people in Los Angeles with tularemia.
Though skeptics said the results were oversold, Dietrich researchers were jubilant. After 20 years of hard work, they believed they had made the case that biological weapons deserved a place in the U.S. arsenal. In fact, they may have succeeded too well.
I think it frightened the U.S. government. It was relatively easy to make biological weapons, relatively easy to disperse them. It wasn't as difficult by any means as building a hydrogen bomb. There was a thinking here that we don't really want to publicize how powerful these weapons are, because all we're really doing is proving to the rest of the world that biological weapons work.
imagine this is 60 years ago. So imagine what they're doing now and how sophisticated they are at what they're doing. Thanks for watching.